thank you all for being here today and for bearing with me as this is sort of off the syllabus and like a little bit of a bump in the road, but I appreciate your flexibility and your patience. And I'm happy to see you because I like spending time with you in class. Today, we're going to talk about design and some of my approaches to design, but you guys had some great questions about where we should be at this juncture of class. So, when we get back on track, we're going to be diving right into construction, which means we'll start out by putting in our bus, constructing the panels of the corset, working around to the back where we will put in the grommets eventually. So for all of that, as Phyllis was very kind and very accurately updated, you need to have your coutil panels cut out, your fashion fabric if you're using anything, and your facings, especially. If you're doing a waist tape, you should have your waist tape ready to go. So we're going to start in hopefully on Wednesday with construction. As long as I can get my pieces up to the point where we can do those things, we will be diving into construction and putting in the busk on Wednesday. A busk is like one of those like rites of passage in corset making. It's always like very complicated looking. I remember my first couple being so intimidating. At this point, I have some wonderful sort of tips and tricks that I've learned over the years. And typically I can get a busk in under an hour. Sometimes on a good day, I can get them in 10 minutes. So that's a good day. I don't think with my injury, I will be having a 10-minute busk day on Wednesday, but you'll get to see how methodical and precision sewing can make this process like a little bit faster and smoother. So we'll be getting into construction and getting back onto schedule on Wednesday. I hope, fingers crossed, everybody. So today, though, we're going to like spend a little time talking about design principles and at least some of the things I bring to design. I want to preface all of this by saying that my design aesthetic is personal and everybody should embrace their own design aesthetic and their own vibes with fashion. I think my favorite designers, and I know my favorite designers, I should be more emphatic here, have their own idiosyncratic, very strong voice and vision for their design. And they lean into whatever nonsense that is. And I love that. If people like Betsy Johnson can like do crazy things with plaid and zippers, why can't we if we want to? So you just need to find the spirit of your personal design aesthetic and run with that. But one of the things I always keep in mind when I am designing is the color story. And I don't really remember when I first heard that phrase, color story, but I like it because it's really about how your colors play together and what colors you're choosing to use. So I come out of this kind of art training a long time ago that was about sort of streamlining your colors in a garment or in any design. And honestly, I'm of two minds on this, but I think it can be a strong guiding principle as you're getting into something. But like all of the best guidelines, it's meant to be broken. So a long time ago, before I share this design principle, I will share a little story that when I was in music school a long time ago and doing music theory, because even if you are like just going to be an opera singer and never write your own music, you just want to sing other people's music, you still study music theory and they still have you write pieces of music. Mine were all not good, but I'm not a composer, but they were practiced following sort of aesthetic principles to guide the music so I could understand them better. And that's very analogous to any kind of artistic design that you may have some guidelines that are helping to sort of shape whatever creation you're making. But I had this amazing teacher. He was German and older and very dry sense of humor and a little bit mean, which is my favorite kind of teacher, apparently, which does not speak volumes for my mental health. But I just loved his kind of mean, like hard line. I have all of these decades of information and I'm going to be like very German about it. And even he was like, at a certain point, he goes to the class, he says, I teach you these rules, not because they're rules you have to follow, because they're rules you have to understand, so that when you break the rules, you do it because you want to and you have a reason to, and that it's intentional. And so when it comes to any design principles I use or share with you during the course of this conversation, I have a very similar opinion. Like, these are guidelines that are useful to understand potentially as they serve you as tools, but they're meant to be things that you understand so you can break them with intention when it serves you and when it helps you with your design. So, and on top of all of that, I want to say I never went to art school. I didn't go to fashion school. I'm self-taught. I've read a lot and I'm related to visual artists. And so I have picked up things through, personal development, through reading and from conversation with artists, which is to say, you can go out there and find design books that will absolutely give you other guidelines, other tools, and other ideas. So that's a long series of caveats to say, I'm going to give you my tips and my approach. And as always, I am not the last end all be all authority of anything. But I do love to share the tools that work for me, and I hope that they will help you as well. So I know this is like not a rule, this is a suggestion. Get nice paper for your sketching. Doesn't have to be super expensive, but one of the nicest things I did, and one of the things that has helped me the most in making decent sketches, is having paper on which my pencils and tools work efficiently. So I'm not like wondering why everything breaks all the time and my lines look funky and I'm like struggling. I do not buy the most expensive paper by any means. I buy like very modestly priced, but it's still nicer than like my computer printer paper that I was using for years. Use that too. Like, if you don't have access to nicer paper, you need a quick sketch. There's nothing wrong with that. But for me, investing in a little sketch pad has really made a big difference. I like these rather larger Bristol pads, and this is like 11 by 14. And I like the big format because it gives me enough space to make a bigger sketch. So I have more room to put in detail and color and even to put my whole body into a page, which is something I really like to do. I do not make my sketches look exactly like my personal body because I'm just not skilled in that way. I just try and make her, my little sort of mannequin, have the right proportions and allow me to, like, she's busty, she's hippie,